All right, Dad, thanks for agreeing to be interviewed for my U.S. History Students project on the upcoming election 2012. We'll be going over a list of 15 different issues, and for each one, we'll just ask you to kind of share what you believe our government and our country should do regarding that specific issue.
Okay.
The first topic we'll address is the issue of immigration.
Well, with immigration, I believe you're talking about illegal immigration. There's really no debate over immigration itself. As will probably be the case with most of these questions, you'll find that I believe that we are a country established by law and we're ruled with laws. We're also a country of immigrants. If people want to come here legally, that's great. I don't have any problem with that. In fact, I encourage it. If people want to come here illegally, that's when we have a problem. But for those that have brought their children here and have been here for a long time, I believe there should be some other action taken to help those individuals, especially if they're law-abiding citizens and don't have a criminal record and want to be a part of this country and be a citizen and not just a visitor.
Okay. The next issue is the issue of gay marriage.
Well, I believe marriage, the term marriage, is meant to be between one man and one woman. It is a term or a word used by God to describe just such a marriage. If others of other relationships want to have political or legal rights to different things, financial or otherwise, I believe that that should be made available to them. I don't think they should be stopped from having a commitment there and having the full rights that others have with or without marriage.
All right. And our next topic will be the issue of legalization of marijuana.
Legalization of marijuana, I really don't have as big an issue with marijuana itself. Maybe that's partly due to my age and the way I was when I was growing up. But I don't see marijuana as the gateway drug, as a lot of people say, that will lead to other drugs. But I do know more about the habit that forms with smoking marijuana. I know that it can become an addiction. And I'm not really interested in legalizing more addictions. We have enough in this country to worry about without doing that.
Okay. Next, topic of abortion.
I believe, like a lot of people do, that the rights that we were given to us by God. They are not rights given to us by the government. I believe that those of us that are stronger need to protect those that are weaker. I would not allow anybody to harm one of my children. I think that I do believe in freedom of choice. I am pro-choice. You can choose not to have sex. You can choose to use birth control. But once you have made the choice to do something and it causes you to become pregnant, I believe that at that point you have now chosen that, and your rights end at the rights of that baby.
Okay. And next, the Second Amendment and gun control issues.
Well, that's a sticky subject, really, because I own guns. I'm not a gun lover. I'm not a gun nut. I do believe in protecting your own family and your property, and I'm in a business where I have to do such. And I believe that people have the right for sport and the right for hunting. A lot of people will say, well, there's no need for 100-round drums or clips because it serves no purpose. Well, really, neither does Frisbee football, but it's still legal to do that. I think that if people want to use that as a sport, they should be allowed to, but it needs to be controlled to a certain degree where they're using it for that purpose and not for just random violence on the streets, so to speak.
All right. Our next set of issues deal mostly with the economy and our government's proper role in dealing with economic issues and its own issues with money. The first topic is the issue of our current national debt of $16 trillion. What do you believe our government should do regarding that?
Well, I often say that the government needs to do what it tells us to do, and what we know we would do in our own situations. If my wife and I are severely in debt, we need to stop spending money and spend it on just the very basic necessities. That's not extra special little things for the kids. That's not piano lessons. That's not all these other frivolous things. It is cut it down to the bare bone and stop spending. Then figure out a way to make more money. And when we can figure out how to get the federal government to actually produce an income without taking it from its citizens, then that day will be a happy day for everybody. But until then, we may need to do a little of both. Stop spending first of all, and then raise taxes in certain areas. But I do believe, as far as taxes are concerned, we need to do something different there.
Which that leads straight to the next issue, which is the issue of proper taxation, what you believe the government should do when it comes to taxing its citizens.
Well, I believe that the way the tax system is set up right now is never going to get us out of debt. You can tax every single person 100% of all of their income, and we will not get out of debt. If we can't get all of the money from everybody and get out of debt, then I don't see how raising the taxes on the wealthy is going to get us out of debt. And on top of that, right now, a lot of people are saying, well, the wealthy need to pay their fair share. Well, I think that the top 15%, according to something I just read yesterday, was, I can't remember the name, it's American something or other, it slips my mind, but they said that the top 15% are paying 85% of all the taxes in the U.S. Well, the top income earners are paying their fair share, obviously, but I think that we need to do something else, like a flat tax, or where everybody pays 10%, because that would be actually producing more money than it does now.
Okay. Next topic is the nationalized healthcare law supported by President Obama, known often as Obamacare.
Well, that's a big one. You talk about tax increases. That is the biggest tax increase ever in the history of the United States. I know people didn't want it to be called that, but now, because of the Supreme Court's actions, that is exactly what it has turned into. We knew this from the beginning, but healthcare itself is, to me, more of a socialistic thing that we have done. It's probably the most socialistic thing we've done since Social Security was put together. Medicare and Medicaid, of course, it piggybacks right on top of those. But to me, there's a reason that many people in Great Britain said not to do this. And it's probably because it's going to lead right where it led for them, where you have long lines, you have huge terms of waiting, and people deciding whether you deserve certain operations or not. And I don't want people deciding if I deserve to have a new kidney or not.
All right. You mentioned these programs also in your last response, but the next topic is Medicare and Medicaid, which provides health coverage and benefits specifically for the elderly. What do you think should be done regarding those programs?
Well, Medicare does. Medicaid is a little different. Medicare is an insurance program. It's where Medicaid is more of an assistance program for the indigent, for the people that can't afford it. I don't have a problem so much with that, but I do believe that Obamacare is going to, if not destroy those, it is severely going to cause just tons of trouble for those two programs. You won't even recognize them in a few years.
Okay. And finally, when it comes to fiscal issues, our last topic is the Environmental Protection Agency and the role of the government in dealing with environmental issues.
Well, I do believe in protecting the environment, I don't believe the fear tactics of we have to go green today or we're going to have the world explode tomorrow. I don't believe that we have necessarily global warming due to man-made causes. I think that global warming is something that is, it's happened before. You look back at the history, you listen to most of the scientists talk about how they've tracked this, and this isn't the first time we've had an increase of heat. In fact, we've had other times where we've had greater increases of heat. And I remember when I was a kid, they were worried about global freezing. And then it shifted now to global warming. But I do believe that we need to protect our environment from people that will damage it, such as corporations just dumping toxic waste anywhere they want it and stuff like that. But I think that the pendulum has swung the other direction now, where we've corrected that issue, we've fixed that problem, but now we have corruption in those that are regulating those companies.
All right. Our last set of topics will deal with the United States' proper role in foreign affairs and foreign policy. The first topic is our nation's war on terror, as it's been called.
Well, you know, a lot of people think the war on terror happened as soon as 9/11 happened. War on terror has been going on since as long as I can remember and my parents can remember. I mean, you had terrorist acts happening in Europe long before any major terrorist acts came out of the Middle East. Terrorism is based off, in my opinion, based off of part truths, part lies, and a lot of fear. And on both parts, I think we as a nation have done a lot of things that has caused people to fear us. We've also done a lot of things that, quite honestly, pisses people off all over the United States, all over the world. And we need to fix those things. We need to change our image. We need to better ourselves. I think that a lot of the problems we have with the rest of the world is due to our own dishonesty and our own unrighteousness. I think that we need to become what we portray ourselves as and help those that need help and stop trying to be the world's police force.
All right. Tied with that, there's what's called the Arab Spring currently, with the change in regimes and governments such as Libya, Syria, and Egypt. What should the United States be doing in nations such as those?
Well, more of what I just said. I think, you know, these countries are kind of getting what they deserve in a way. Not the people, but the governments. I think that you have a government that takes over too many of the rights of the people, and you're going to have things happen like Arab Spring. I can see that happening to a certain extent in our own country, where too many rights eventually get taken over. There will come a day where people will flip out, and that's exactly what happened in those countries. These people got sick and tired of being under somebody else's thumb, and they wanted to change, so they took matters into their own hand. Unfortunately, you know, that never ends up good. Everybody ends up fighting, and there ends up being a lot of people that are dead and hurt, and sometimes it doesn't change anything. But I think that we need to educate those people as best we can, be the best example we know how, help them where we can, but to help their governments with money in any form at all makes no sense, because we can't trust where they're going to put that money. We can give them money for food and education and shelter for their people, but as we've seen in Africa, it goes right into the military anyway, whether we wanted it to or not.
Okay. Connected to that last issue is one specific nation in the Middle East that's been of some concern to the United States. It's the nation of Iran. What should our country be doing when it comes to Iran, or Iran, what you want to call it?
Regarding their nuclear situation? Well, there really isn't a whole lot we can do there, other than what we did at the beginning with Iraq. And what I mean by that isn't military action. What I mean by that is that we sanction them, we do the different things that we need to do to cut off aid, but the challenge with that is that the only people that get hurt by that are their own citizens, because most of those countries don't care about their citizens really. They care about them enough to take what they can from them so that they can continue with their lifestyle and the things they want to do. But most of the people that get hurt from the sanctions that we and the rest of the world pose on these countries are the citizens of those countries. So we've got to work through the diplomatic channels the best we can. And quite honestly, if they're going to end up with a nuclear bomb, there really isn't anything we can do about it other than striking them, but that makes no sense. We didn't do that to other countries that have it, and especially if we agree with them, I don't believe that's the way to go.
And that again directly ties to the next issue, which is that of nuclear proliferation in general and the spread of nuclear weapons to other nations. Should the United States be leading efforts to stop the spread of nuclear weapons around the world?
Well, yeah, we need to do a lot with with that, but you know, there's democratic countries that might pursue nuclear weapons. That's one thing, but when you have a government that is shaky at best, really is kind of rebellious against the rest of the world, and kind of sets themselves as an outcast or a black sheep, so to speak, and really doesn't want to be part of any other thing having to do with the rest of the world, you got to worry about them. And yeah, if they get nuclear weapons, then it's going to be more problematic and more of a concern. But it's never going to be good to have more nuclear weapons spread throughout all the different countries, more than it is now. I think I think we have 8 or 9 countries now that have nuclear weapons, and that's plenty of nuclear weapons for this world.
Okay. And our final issue is the largest trade partner and also debt owner when it comes to foreign countries of American debt, and that nation is China. What do you think our country should be doing in its relationship with China?
Well, kind of goes back, I guess, to what we talked about earlier, get out of debt. My wife and I did this over the last several years of getting out of debt. It didn't matter who we owed money to, we needed to pay them off and get out of debt. That's easier said than done with the situation between us and China. But I believe that China is trying to do some other things that really won't allow us to pay that debt back, even if we wanted to. They're making it more difficult than it needs to be by changing their currency, and also obviously that affects our currency. But I think that we need to try our best to have the best communication we can with them. I think doing a lot of work with their citizenry through, I just lost my train of thought. They're through their people, being able to work with their people and to teach their people what the United States is really like and what we are like as citizens, could go a long way, because I know that there's a lot of things that are untrue that are being taught to them by the government.
All right, Dad, thank you so much for participating in the project.
You bet, thank you.